The Go Higher podcast is presented by the High Program at Wayne State University. The High Program, helping individuals go higher. Hello everyone and welcome to the Go Higher podcast, where we take on the tough and relevant subjects in everyone's day-to-day lives and provide insight on how to respond, resolve, and re-inspire yourself and those around you. Every day we become more digitally connected. Social media sites have shifted the way we interact with each other and made it easier to feel comfortable sharing our opinions and thoughts online. Sometimes a little too comfortable. We see it all the time. A disgruntled employee posts a ridiculous picture or video of themselves at work on their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube channel. The next day they're fired for inappropriate behavior. Millennials and Generation Z kids have been hearing their whole lives that no matter what they say, you should never say anything online that you wouldn't say to somebody's face. Despite how supposedly connected we all are now, it's easy to feel like social media sites have turned our worlds into a vacuum where we're just all shouting into a void. Sometimes the void sends a few likes back and a couple comments, but sometimes, if you're not careful, the void sends you a serious reality check. In the past few years, it seems like these reality checks have been hitting people harder than ever, which has led to some serious consequences, headlines of misconduct, and some serious schadenfreude. That sound means it's time to discuss the key word of the day. Today's word is schadenfreude. Schadenfreude, to feel amusement or get pleasure from another's misfortune. There is no English word for this feeling, so we use the German word, which literally means damaged joy.
Protecting you and those around you are just as important as your education. Life happens, and we want to help you in every way possible to prepare for it. Here is your GHPP, Go Higher Program Podcast Safety Tip of the Day. Keep your head up and don't be afraid to make eye contact with people. This safety tip came from Wayne State Police Department.
Honestly, I think most of us feel a little schadenfreude when we see people being called out and punished for what we might label as idiotic or just plain mean social media behavior. Many stories remind us that no matter how connected we all are, many of us still treat social media like we're yelling into a black hole. No matter how unlikely it is that what you say or do will reach a multitude of people, there is always the chance that the exact wrong person will be looking at your social media content. Whether we like it or not, someone at your work, your school, a friend, a family member, or a complete stranger across the world can look at your social media content and judge you in a way that you may not like, and it may come back to haunt you. Yes, we all have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean you're exempt from the repercussions of what you say and do online. Today I'm going to discuss with you some important tips to keep in mind when you post on any of your social media platforms. Number one, I'll start with the most obvious. Always think before you post on social media. Your social media followers may know and probably agree with your personal ethics and your political or social views, but that doesn't mean the internet does. The nature of social media is that people will typically judge you based on one post. Think about it this way. If you were to walk into a lecture hall of 500 people, have a computer randomly select one of your social media posts, and were then forced to read it out loud, what opinion of you would that lecture hall full of people most likely form? 2. Unless you're purposefully spelling something wrong to be funny or make a point, spell check your posts. Nothing leads to receiving more slack from people online than misspelling a word that changes the meaning of your statement. Whether you accidentally post a misleading typo-ridden message or simply have a kafifi moment, proofread your social media content. 3. Don't use your company's social media account for personal use or to draw attention to your own humor. That seems like an obvious tip, but you wouldn't believe how many people wind up in the news just for doing that. One woman was in charge of managing the Twitter account for a Maryland school district. After being told a few times that her responses to students' questions on social media, while humorous, were too cutting, she continued to tweet on the school's Twitter anyway. In her final exchange, a boy from the school tweeted at the school's account that he wanted for school to be closed Tam-arrow. Nash's response was, "But then how could you learn how to spell tomorrow?" with a smiley face. Many people thought her response was hilarious, and even the student involved thought it was quite funny. However, the school system did not. She was promptly fired from her job. It can be hard to tell what a brand or an institution will appreciate in a social media post, but tread lightly. Most institutions will not appreciate any humor or posts that go beyond the most basic and professional. 4. Don't put people on blast in your social media posts. It may seem obvious, and if Rihanna has the time to call people out for their rude comments on Instagram, then your coworker will most likely not find it funny if you post on Twitter that they have the worst smelling lunches of all time. If you have an issue with somebody, bring it up to them first before you blast them on social media. Number 5. Ask people first before you post pictures or any other media of them on your social media accounts. If you post a video on your Instagram of your drunk friend dancing on a bar and they're friends with their boss on Instagram, chances are their boss will see their weekend activities and assume that they were okay with being represented this way online. This may also lead their boss to assume they're okay with being fired for badly representing their company's brand online. Bottom line, always ask people if you can post any content you might have of them before you do. 7. Be careful of making violent or threatening posts, especially when they're directed at a location or a single person. How often do you say, "Ugh, I wish someone would just burn down my office so I don't have to go and do my presentation tomorrow," or "I can't stand my coworker and I just want to push them off a bridge"? These kinds of comments are usually not taken seriously in person. We all get fed up with work or that one coworker. But when violent or threatening comments get made online, your humor and intent can get lost in translation. 8. When you see a funny or interesting social media post, think before reposting or liking it. Be careful to always look at the accounts of the people whose content you're thinking about liking or sharing. You might crack up at a meme posted by an account you're not too familiar with, only to go look at their account page to see that they have a lot of explicit or not safe for work content. If you like or share content from someone you're not familiar with, you could end up looking like you support their controversial online presence and not just the one post you saw out of context. You could always add the phrase to your social media account bio, "My opinions are my own, retweets and likes do not indicate an endorsement of any individual account." This might sound like overkill, but it does prevent any social media snafus in the future. 9. Last but certainly not least, avoid posting sexual discourse directed at any individual or group in particular, and avoid racial slurs. Of course, I didn't say this to try and warn people with these negative beliefs to avoid being caught for their bad behavior. In fact, I think we'd all prefer to see that happen. However, for the stupid, careless, and unintentional circumstances, check yourself. R-rated jokes may go over well in person with people you know, but when even your coworkers and bosses can see your social media posts, keep it slightly more PG-13. So what's the takeaway here? Bottom line, the internet has an infinite memory, and more people may be watching what you say and do than you think. I would say most of us don't get involved in saying anything or doing anything online that may be misconstrued as menacing, harassment, or just plain stupid. However, in the age we live in, we have to remember that as much as we love to watch people's social media embarrassment online, it could easily happen to any of us. You don't have to take social media seriously, and you certainly don't have to censor everything you say. Social networks are there for us to have fun, share our world, and enjoy taking a peek into the world of others. But whether your posts are silly or serious, we can all be a little more aware of our impact on social media and how it can affect people's lives. Now, before we end, I'm going to read a testimonial from somebody who has received help from the HIGH program at Wayne State. I am extremely grateful to be a recipient of the HIGH program. This year, my parents were divorced and I was no longer receiving financial support towards my tuition. Being a full-time student only allowed me to work part-time, and I had exhausted all my financial options, including personal loans. Receiving this support will allow me to not only graduate this upcoming semester, but also not have to worry about paying any extra out of pocket. In reducing my financial stress, I can solely focus on my grades. Thank you so much for having a positive impact on my undergraduate college experience. Thanks for listening, everybody.
College can be difficult, but for some students, financial issues can make things impossible. The HIGH program at Wayne State University provides critical funds to students who are having major issues with basic needs like tuition, books, housing, and food. It's amazing, but just a few $100s at the right time can save a student from dropping out of school or being homeless. Students should not have to decide between basic life necessities and finishing their education. The HIGH program has connected hundreds of students with their basic needs and provided a light at the end of the tunnel for what amounts to the most difficult period of their young lives. If you would like to help, donations of any amount are welcome, and you can find all of our information at highprogram.wayne.edu.